The Lost Generation. Imagine growing up only to be thrown into the deadliest war humanity had ever seen. World War I was brutal. 70 million people mobilized, 8.5 million killed, and millions more scarred for life. If war didn't get you, the Spanish flu might have. Some estimates say it wiped out up to 100 million people. After all that, a crumbling economy leading to the Great Depression. If there's one word to describe this generation, it's resilience. They partied through Prohibition, saw the birth of jazz, and watched women redefine societal norms. They didn't just survive, they adapted. The greatest generation. They lived through the Great Depression, then marched straight into World War II. 16 million Americans served, over 600,000 were casualties. Yet they came back, rebuilt everything, and sparked an economic boom. Radio and cinema flourished, comic books took off, and swing jazz filled the air. They were tough, disciplined, and laid the foundation for the modern world. If anyone earned the title of greatest, it's them, the silent generation. They grew up in a world shaped by war and came of age in a Cold War. While previous generations fought to change the system, these guys worked within it. They were cautious, traditional, and built stable lives. They married young, had kids early, and valued security over rebellion. Critics called them quiet and reserved, but in reality, they were the backbone of post-war prosperity. Baby boomers, born into the most optimistic era in modern history. America was booming, suburban life was thriving, and families were bigger than ever. 76 million boomers entered the world. They watched the moon landing, lived through the civil rights movement, and became the face of counterculture with rock music, protests, and a defiant rejection of outdated norms. From the Beatles to Woodstock, from economic dominance to political upheaval, boomers shaped the modern world more than any generation before them. Generation X, the latchkey kids. Divorce rates shot up, both parents were working, and Gen X learned to be independent early on. They grew up in a world of cable TV, home computers, and the rise of punk, hip-hop, and heavy metal. They weren't as rebellious as boomers, but they weren't as conformist as the silents either. They questioned authority, embraced cynicism, and later, many of them built the internet as we know it today. Google, Amazon, YouTube. Thank a Gen Xer. Millennials, the first generation raised on the internet. They witnessed 9/11, lived through the 2008 financial crisis, and entered adulthood burdened with student debt and skyrocketing housing costs. Yet, they're also the most educated generation and the pioneers of social media, streaming, and meme culture. They championed social change, gig work, and digital entrepreneurship. They're often called entitled, but let's be honest, they were handed a rough deal and still made it work. Generation Z, born into a fully digital world, Gen Z doesn't know life without smartphones and social media. They grew up during political polarization, social justice movements, and an overwhelming amount of information at their fingertips. They're fiercely independent, entrepreneurial, and value authenticity over everything. Unlike millennials, they're not as optimistic. They've seen enough to be skeptical. They don't trust corporations, they don't trust governments, but they do trust themselves. And in a world driven by content creation, Gen Z runs the show. Generation Alpha, the youngest generation. AI, automation, and a hyper-connected world will shape them. Will they be the most tech-savvy yet? Or will they struggle with mental health and digital overload? Only time will tell. One thing is certain, they're growing up in a world unlike any before them, and their impact is yet to be seen.